How's it going? If you remember last week, we were messing around a little bit with some ice molds, looking to do some fancy things for the upcoming festivities. And of all the ones we did, the only ones I really liked were the cat molds. They came out really kind of cool and pretty true to the form that we were trying to accomplish there. The other ones, especially like the big spherical shaped ones that you put in your whiskey glasses, had mixed results. Some of the molds we couldn't get the ice out of very well, but all of them were cloudy, misty because of all the impurities and air that were in the ice. So I got a little obsessed about the idea of making clear ice, and we're going to experiment with that today. As I had mentioned before, to make clear ice, you have to have something that will freeze the ice directionally so that as it's freezing, it'll push the air and impurities from one end to the other, therefore leaving the rest of the ice clear. And there's some homemade ways of doing this. I wanted to try something though a little less rustic than that. And we're going to try doing that with several store-bought molds that I've purchased. I've got the True Cubes ice molds. These are for square-shaped ice. Ice so clear it disappears. Maybe it does. I also got the Berlinzo ice ball maker. Now this makes a single ice ball, but they do come in larger quantities. Also, we have the Glacio ice ball maker. This one makes 2 balls of ice. So we're going to follow the instructions on each one of these. We're going to see what the results are, and hopefully we'll get some clear ice at the end of this. All right, well, let's get into it. All right, let's start with the round molds. We're going to start out with the Berlinzo, and let's unbox it and take a look at the instructions. Okay, so this is, I guess, the way it looks. Taking the stopper out of the top. Oh, nice. Oh, interesting. So here's what it is. We have the ball. We have an escape hatch for the impurities. And then we have a reservoir for the other stuff. Okay, in this one, we're to fill the reservoir up to a fill line. It says about 1 inch from the top. Now, it says to use lukewarm tap water. I live in Baltimore. I'm not going to drink tap water. I have some filtered water we're going to pour in here. We'll start there. Next, we take the mold and we insert it into the reservoir. And it's kind of bubbling out the air out the top as it fills up the mold. And I'm going to top it off with a little more filtered water. Okay, now it says to let it freeze for 18 to 20 hours. So let's go ahead and stick it in the freezer and we'll move on to the next mold. All right, let's continue with the spherical shaped molds. This is the Glacio mold. And it has a very similar structure where you've got the reservoir down here and you've got a couple of molds for 2 balls in this particular model. Okay, a similar approach. We fill the reservoir and then we insert the mold and fill it from the bottom. We're going to line it up, and we're going to insert it. And we're going to do it gently so that if you look, it almost inserts itself. The weight pushes it down. And we're going to, again, fill from the top just to make sure it's completely full. All right, let's go ahead and get that one in the freezer too. All right, let's make the square ones now. We'll go ahead and open it up, see what it looks like. Okay, this one's a little different. We put the actual tray into the reservoir first. This is just a base. This is the reservoir, and these are the cubes, and you see the holes where it goes through, and the impurities will go through there into the bottom. Okay, as I'm filling this, I'm seeing that each one does not have its own unique reservoir. It is a common underneath. It makes it easy to fill, that's for sure, but They don't fill very evenly, so you got to just make sure you keep adding them to the ones that are below the fill line. Okay, once we have them nice and full, take them over to the fridge. Okay, we have the 3 molds ready to go. We'll see you back here tomorrow to see how they turned out. Pretty excited. How's it going? It's the next day. Super excited. We're going to be able to break open these molds and see how this ice turned out. Now remember, the 2 main criteria for this is the ease of extraction and the clarity of the ice. So let's get into these and see how they turn out. We're going to start with the Berlinzo. Now, if you look, it's actually coming out on its own. The ice on the bottom was freezing and pushing the plug upward. So this top part came out on its own. Let's see how the ice turned out. It's got nice grips here. That helps. Ooh. Okay, comes right out. And although there's a little bit of stuff on the outside, the ice itself is perfectly clear, crystal clear. So we'll call that a win. Okay, next, let's get into the Glacio. It's got pretty solid grips here. Nice, good rubber to pull on. And so this isn't terribly, I'm not putting a lot of stress on this or pressure, but you got to kind of work it out. No big deal. Was not stressful. And again, the inside's a solid block. That's just waste. You'll just set that aside to melt. All right, here we go. Easy to get into, super easy. Crystal clear, absolutely perfect. Amazing. And finally, we have the True Cubes. Now, these also have grips that allow you to get in here and pull. Well, we got the insert out. Let's see about the rest. Nothing like a little counter banging to free up the ice there. Inside we have the reservoir leftovers. Okay, not bad. If you push from the bottom, they pop right out. And this is pretty tough rubber silicone. It's pretty good. Hard to get a grip on these though. But perfectly clear. I wouldn't call these difficult to get out, but they weren't the easiest, but they weren't that hard. Again, back to our 2 criteria. How easy were they to get out? The orbs were easy, super easy to get out. They almost came out on their own. The squares were a little tougher, not really terribly difficult, but a little tougher. And the clarity of the ice, crystal clear, absolutely perfect. Well, let's see how our fancy ice looks in our fancy glass. And that's really going to be the tail of the tape. Also, again, you two, we're using apple juice, so don't demonetize me. I gotta say, that looks pretty fancy. That's good apple juice. Now, the benefits of having the super clear ice is, first of all, you don't get any flavors to get in your drink from the impurities. And secondly, theoretically, the ice is supposed to last longer, which means you can have more drinks with that particular ice. And therefore, you don't have to make as many cubes, because I will tell you, these fancy ice molds are a little bit expensive. We'll go over that in a minute. Very nice, very lovely. Okay, so what are my final thoughts? Well, of course, we got the results we were looking for. So that's the primary thing. The second thing is cost. So all of the ones we looked at the other day that had the funny different types of 3D molds were pretty cheap. They were, $10 to $15 per mold, around there. These are a little more expensive for the Berlinzo. That single orb mold was $21. The Glacio, which you get 2 orbs for, was $36. So now you're looking at what, $18 per orb. And the True Cube mold, with the 4 cubes that you get from that, was $46. So that's what, $11.50 a piece. So if you're talking about per cube, I think the True Cube is the best deal monetarily. But if you need orbs, the others are fine too. So did we get the results? Yes. Was there a cost? Yes. So what's the value to this? Well, how often do you have these kind of fancy drinks? How important is it to you? How much is $20 worth to you? All those things. So, I mean, you can probably, if you're having your evening drinks, 1 cube would probably last you all evening. So you could get the $20 one, pop yourself, open an orb and throw it in your whiskey glass and use it for the evening and refill it and have it ready for the next night. They seem very, very durable. So I don't think that's an issue. So yeah, I think they're cool, they're fun, and I think the value's there. If it suits your needs. But other than that, I don't know, man. It's kind of fun. On that note, we're going to go. Thanks as always for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.